So I'm going to start with a land acknowledgement. But before I do that, it's just so wonderful to see you all come out for some fine poets and musicians, and I know you're going to enjoy the next couple of hours. This Minstrels and Bards soiree is situated on Indigenous land and Dish with One Spoon territory. This is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Wendat, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Minstrels and Bards gratefully acknowledges these Indigenous nations for their guardianship of this land. So, welcome to the spring edition of Minstrels and Bards. As our locale greens unfurling buds and flowers, warming up, it is warming up, we will celebrate with a beautiful group of features who will read and perform. The depth of Moritz's and Beatriz Hausner's poetry, metaphor, sensuality, chiseled phrasings, the spirit in the images, woven stories, is breathless. Glen Hornblast's heart-catching voice, and the songs of love he writes, breathless too. And Sara Craig's voice will leave you melting on the shore of infinity. She's stunning. So we're going to begin with beautiful Sara. Do you want to come up? So Sara Craig has been a professional multimedia artist for most of her adult life. She's a published songwriter and a Juno nominee for her singing and music. Her visual art has included trompe-l'oeil paintings as well as three-dimensional interior design drawings for clients. So welcome, Sara. Give me a hug.
I will be glad. All right, so most people don't even know me. That's fine. But coincidentally, there's a fellow here, I won't point him out, he might get nervous, that has my first record. And for some reason, I went to my first record only to pick a couple of songs for tonight. So I'm going to improvise, though. It's a bit of an experiment. Okay, so that needs to be like that. All right. Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? If it's the mind this time, you might break my heart. Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? If it's the mind this time, you might break my heart. If it's the mind this time, I was never your girl. So many minds, so many bodies, so many ways to. So many minds, too many bodies. I've no need for another you. Close your eyes. Imagine I'm somebody else. I don't mind if it's what I have to do to keep our love alive. Close your eyes. I don't mind if it's what I have to do to keep our love alive. 'Cause I believe in love, I believe in love, I believe in dancing from the bottom. building, growing, stretching, groping, and never giving up. Never giving up. Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? Is it the mind or is it the body? If it's the mind this time, you might break my heart. If it's the mind this time, I was never your girl. Close your eyes. Imagine I'm somebody else. I don't mind if it's what I have to do to keep our love alive. Close your eyes. Cause I believe in love. Cause I believe in love. Well, I believe in love. I believe in love. I believe in never giving up. I believe in love. Is it the mind? Is it the mind? Is it the mind? Is it the mind? 'Cause I believe in love. I believe in love. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's see. All right, so let's see. All right, I never used this before. It's been an experiment. I need 8. Where is it? Come on, I need it. Okay, this song is called Aspiring To. Aspiring to confront you. I only wish there was something I could do. Believe me, I can see right through to the heart of this deal. To the heart of this deal. Aspiring to be everything but you. I only wish I had known the truth. Don't you see, you're the one who broke your heart and you took away the fun. Oh, you took away the fun. Pretending be oh so true. I only wish I could do it back to you. I only wish I could do it back to you. How, believe me, I can love for real, and that'll be enough. A love for real, and that'll be enough. Kazoo. Aspiring to forget you. What you gave is something I can't lose. Love, you know, love's too pure. You took it all for granted right from the start. Right from the start. Pretending to be oh so true. I only wish I could do it back to you. I only wish I could do it back to you. I write these words for you, but it's my release. It's important that you know what you meant to me. Many years I've waded through, many tears have traced my cheek. You had no idea what to do with me. You're crazed and not enough to keep me in line or in love. You talk big, how you laid me down. You talk big, how you laid me down. Figured it out. Yeah, I figured it out. Thank you very much, you guys, and Brenda, for giving me an opportunity. I haven't sung really for 25 years. I used to do 2 hours, and so I figure by the time I'm 100, if I just keep adding a song every time I perform. So yeah, the first time was 1 song. Now we're up to 3, so that's good. Hello. Okay, good. It's fine. World was on fire, no one could save me but you. Sorry. Whoa. Strange what desire will make foolish people do. I've never dreamed that I'd meet somebody like you. I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love. What a wicked game to play to make me feel this way. What a wicked thing to do to make me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say. You never felt that way. What a wicked thing to do. Make me dream of you, and I don't want to fall in love. No, I don't want to fall in love. The world was on fire and no one could save me but you. Strange what desire will make foolish people do. I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. I never dreamed that I'd love somebody like you. No, I don't wanna fall in love. No, I don't wanna fall in love. This world is only gonna break your heart. Break your heart. This world is only gonna break your heart. No, this world is only gonna break your heart. Nobody loves no one. Thank you, thank you.
Oh, you're so great. That was beautiful. Jess, isn't she fabulous?
Well, that was absolutely wonderful. Okay, so next is a fabulous poet. Comes from such a rich background, family background of famous parents. So Beatriz Hausner has published several poetry collections, including Sew Him Up, Enter the Raccoon, and Beloved Revolutionary Sweetheart, which is fantastic. If you if you get a chance to read it or buy it, yeah, it's really worth it if you get a chance. Like, buy it. Or borrow it from somebody who has, or it's in the library, right? Yeah, get it. It's incredible. I was up half the night reading it the first night. I stayed up all night to finish it. Yeah. She Who Lies Above will be published by Book Thug Press this coming fall. And her books have been published internationally and translated into several languages. And Beatrice's poetry is surrealist, rich, rhythmical, encompasses a wide range of knowledge, intellectual traditions in both the English-speaking and Spanish-speaking worlds. Literature, artwork, myths, and a unique spiritual vision of her own. And her poems are fertile, rich, on the edge of bursting with passion out of the page. Such passion.
Okay. So I thought I'd do a little anthology of my own work for tonight. So I'm going to read a piece from a book called Enter the Raccoon, which are prose pieces. And they're basically about a relationship between a woman and a human-sized raccoon. And the human-sized raccoon has all kinds of prosthesis and things that can pleasure the woman and things like that. So this is a rather tame one. It's always preceded by a little meditation, and then there is a divertimento where the story takes place. Naming. In the Spanish of my childhood, it was Osito Lavador, or Little Washer Bear. This appellation seems to be derived from the German name for our furry protagonist, Vache Bear. The Latin name includes the word lotor, which means washer. The French referred to them as raton laveur, or young washer rat. No doubt, the reference to washing has to do with raccoons always taking their food and dunking it in water before proceeding to pummel it with their paws. Are raccoons bears? They certainly look the part, and yet the Japanese refer to them as raccoon dogs, and the full Latin name includes the word procyon, meaning before the dog. In fact, raccoons are neither bears nor dogs, and they bear no relation to rodents. Raccoons, it happens, are closely related to the ring-tailed cat of the southwestern United States. So now you know, he purrs, and in my ear, as his finely articulated hand presses my shoulder against the linens of the bed. Raccoon seems conscious of the pain he is causing me. It is, I tell him, as much, although he pretends not to hear, the physical manifestation of the suffering his silence induces as he retreats into the world of big cats where he lives with his ancestors. His treatment of me, now with his sex, now with his mind, is warranted. He too carries with him the burden of suffering, a kind of guilt borne by the children of modern-day prophets. In his instance, they wandered the foothills of mountains settled by the grandmothers and the mothers who came before them. They were apt to hide in the trunk of trees, the better to understand the men they loved from afar. Everything is written on him. I know because, though it is retractable and lies mostly hidden behind his fur, when I entice his penis out of him, his meanings, which is to say, the meaning of the world, becomes instantly readable to me. The vowels and consonants follow one another on that soft surface, the sacred text unfolding before me as I swallow the letters one after another. Some of you may know that I came into writing through translation. And translation has really been not just an influence, but a kind of education for me. And some of the poets that I've devoted myself to have had a particular deep effect on my writing. One of them is a Chilean poet by the name of Rosamel del Valle. I'm going to read a translation of one of his poems. The poem is called Visita in Spanish, and this is my translation in English. Visit. He will come, one thinks, and the visitor arrives. The room opens. Needless to say, he comes in. The walls lose their calm. The objects lose their calm. The light loses its calm, and whatever I am when I extend my greetings is in no way related to the word calm. I realize then that the walls are shaped like an ear, and that the visitor will place his to the lock of the door. Perhaps to assure himself that the first half of his thoughts have remained outside. Perhaps to pay me tribute in the name of loyalty. This may be why I remember his behavior as having always been beyond reproach. The instant I see him take off his hat and throw it into the sea, I know that our conversation has begun. A conversation of humid words, at times like the summer, at times like the sweating window panes. I can't say for sure. Notwithstanding, and without a word coming out of his mouth, he utters the exact same thing I heard in my dreams last night. That is to say, the story of a conversation never started. And then, and to avoid a tragic farewell, I turn to the wall and hand back the visitor the blank page which suddenly threatens to collapse from his teeth. When I hear a tear falling from the closing door, calm again illuminates the room. But it is late, and it would be useless to attempt walking over to the shore of that river, which this once does not reach the sea. And thank you. And so this is one of the techniques which I've developed is to riff off of some other writers. And this is my riff off of Rosamel del Valle's visit. At this time it's called Original Man, and it's after Rosamel del Valle. He will come, one thinks, and the visitor arrives. He opens the door. I take out my needles. It would be useless to say that I sew myself to him because I have yet to meet his true heart, feel it like fruit that is offered, rendered liquid in a clear glass. There are his memories and there are my memories. Perhaps we're to stitch them together and display our joint selves to the judges in the audience. In a city like this one, before night falls and the color of our blood changes to a darker hue. A spectacular meeting by all accounts, with our attending limbs growing wilder as the ghosts of living and dead singers crowd our senses. He speaks in silence, echoing joint performances of times past when we were apt to raise our legs in tandem and write out the music of the heart. And yet he does speak the language of the worm inside the fruit, words spoken by the wind, sweeping over expanses of prairies, where original man is bound with sinew, his ears sewn to the earth by the invisible hands of the great sound maker. Now I'm going to move on to a different poet. His name was César Moro. He was a Peruvian surrealist. And his most emblematic poem is called Lettre d'amour. He was a bilingual poet. And so I translated this poem is called Love Letter. And it is really one of the most beautiful poems of his generation, in any case, in Latin American poetry. I'll read a little bit because it's quite long. I think of the anguish in holothurians that often surrounded us at the nearing of dawn, when your feet, warmer than nests, burned in the night in a glowing blue light. I think of your body making sky and supreme mountains from the bed. I think of the only reality with its valleys and shadows, moisture and marble and black water mirroring the stars in each of your eyes. Your smile, wasn't it not the echoing forests of my childhood? Were you not the source, the stone destined centuries ago for me to rest my head on? I think of your face, motionless ember, sorrow, source of the Milky Way, and this immense sorrow driving me madder than a burning chandelier swaying over the sea. Unbearable when I think of you, the human voice feels intolerable to me. Always the vegetal murmur of your words isolates me in this total night, where you shine with a blackness blacker than the night. All idea of black is insufficient to express the long hooting of black on black, glowing fervently. I will not forget. But who speaks of forgetting in the prison where your absence leaves me, in the solitude this poem abandons me to, the exile each hour finds me in? So I'll leave it at that. What a disaster. And I'm going to read a poem I wrote in his honor. I feel a kind of siblinghood with César Moro. Poetic twin man. Breakaway man, adopted son of Moorish queens, wrote love mantras with salt on his tongue, saliva seas breaking against his final house, straddling the rocks of a cruel coast. Man of anguish, of hard sex, giving me his song, diamonds crashing in my ear where the north country hums. Love on Fridays, but not on Tuesdays. The disunited states of the Americas growing wings for the lover of ideal men, always coming. Attendant weavers of French finery entering his umbilical lima of mist and sorrow. He opens the door, pours his brow into mine, so we may drink portions of the scandalous life, conjure up rooms where his mane and mine swing from chandeliers like strange sea animals that moan with pleasure. My twin, made of flesh, made of lust, made of tongue. How am I doing for tongue?
10 minutes.
Okay. So I'm just going to read 2 poems from Beloved Revolutionary Sweetheart, which, as Brenda says, is available from Book Hub from their website. And they have a special discount for Poetry Month. Al Moritz, who is, of course, the better writer, and who edited this book and all my other books, suggested I read this one, which I've never read before in public. It's called The Delightful Love of Bacchus. Ariadne comes, Bacchus comes, this is whom the nymph beheld behind, despite the white mantle draped over darkness. Destroy not my canes, the growth of my streams, the black core inside the breathing of the world, yet to be poured from a single cup, despite the disbelievers and their babble. Juxtaposing now, crossing over the bards, say, be not afraid, the isle is full of noises, Caliban explaining things may be. It happens, they are sounds and sweet airs that give delight and hurt not, and come from deep waters making skins sing inside crowding sounds. The animals, those images, the pigments come alive, ride on their backs and under them and interfere with the bindings and noises, and they are mechanical contraptions becoming legged playthings. They are given help, though there is the matter of their vociferations, less an imposition than an interference in the making of a perfect space where we might live with the colors of these toenails. Ornaments for ideal feet become sudden animals dead, alive on our sides as the linens billow out of control, the beasts that play inside an overflowing bowl held up by means of our teeth, and all manner of life is poured over our ecstatic embrace. Brightness is made, and despite the darkness of the ancient devices, let us say, the God is now come, and the fields resound with the wild cries of revelers. And thank you very much. That's very kind. I'm going to finish up with a poem that I wrote sort of inspired and with the effects of watching too many fashion shows. You know, there was a moment before the internet, when we had a TV channel called Fashion TV, yes. Anyway, so I had the good fortune of being a part of Fashion Week, thanks to a friend. So this poem is devoted, it's dedicated to Robin Kay, who gave me that opportunity. It's called High Priestess. Our revered lords, ladies, dear ones, I am come to render elegant homage to silks, sometimes chains due to the reversal of the bias. The principal altar is upside down. Divine adoratress of Ammon, you of the easy knit, interacting with the holder of the office, use yourself as inspiration in moiré and the shimmery legs strutting down the aisle. May the perfect fabrications reach up to you, because nothing detracts from the treatment, the modality of those fabrics draped against hardware. You command our attention to the mirror of ourselves, your subjects, because you must on your own place the ethereal layers, and it is necessary to conceal your love of these, the mothers of the children, hanging off of us women who accept the wearing of garments for our Lord, love of perfect fit. Around us rise the hanging gardens of Babylon, and Alexander, who saw them and mistakenly fled along the grain, yes, against the grain, for he knew not the power of adjuration and treaty renewed twice yearly when we sat along the long path and praised the importance of the caller to Ammon's wife. You are God's wife of Ammon, they call you. You, more than all the Vestals at the altar, you alleviate suffering, and the sisters moan in a blessed tone as the trombone groans with the seasons of irreverence. Are we renewed, spring, summer, and fall, winter? The collections are with the heart, with the art of being from which we animate ourselves. I entreat you. Do nothing. Don't do anything to your genders of sex for him, not the fulfillment of desire nor the satisfying of want, though getting to coming requires great creative power and the constant invention of writing where pleasure is a present couture placed against ready to wear for the young ones who work seamlessly and in heels. The young secretariat records your dictum. I belong to a world devoted to elegance. The manner of your prayer makes us the thing that most suits you, from which flows our cosmology and structure and softness and masculine and feminine, sometimes the unflattering silhouettes of ugly chic, luxury, albeit not basted, but rather sheared, so that normalizing the unexplored when designing on paper, when fabricating, when draping, when cutting, when sewing, when finishing the fabric is the medium. Preeminently wearable, and with the figure dictating the shape of those garments, you offer your chest of accessories, drawers that open and close of their own will, overflowing fruit crushed in a glass of blue, of green jewels inside alcohol. We travel in a car pulled by 2 lapdogs whose names are princely. A designer, also this Theodora, your sister of now, utilizing whole with no exterior construction to force the dress into place. And you must be patient. You must surpass yourself to reach your goals. You utter as the flame is lit, and you close your eyes in prayer. Pull the flame to your cheeks with your hands and kiss the deities invisibly protecting us, warrior women in file. We parade before you, we who are fierce and strong, impenetrable owners of our sex. Thank you.
Isn't she fabulous? Woo! Woo!
Right on.
Yeah, right on is right. Thank you, Beatrice. Another one for Beatrice. Thank you. So Al's most recent books of poems are The Garden, a poem and an essay, As Far as You Know, and The Sparrow, selected poems, as well as a new edition of poems in Greek translation selected from The Sparrow. He has published 23 volumes of poetry, and his work has received various recognitions, including the Guggenheim Fellowship, the Griffin Poetry Prize, and the Award in Literature of the American Academy of Arts and Letters. 3 of his books have been finalists for the Governor General's Award, and he is our poet laureate of the City of Toronto. Yay! He's a wonderful man. And I've got a description here. And his poetry is lush, full, and loving. The stance, the descriptions, images, a gentleness even in the harsh, difficult, and intricate, so intricately constructed. You can see this especially if you read his poems on the page. Welcome, Al. And I need my...
How's that for height?
It looks good to. It looks good if it sounds good. That's good. If it sounds good, it's totally good. Or maybe it smells all right too. All right. So I'm actually the outgoing poet laureate because the new one was announced this late, the mid this month, and especially this morning. in council committee and will be voted in officially at the May 5th, as now scheduled, meeting of the council. And that's when I go off and the great Lillian Allen comes on. And we have with us here a representative of the city, Chris Jones, who's part of the economic and community development section of the city government, and the part of it that is in charge of the laureate programs. So I'm going to be reading tonight from As Far As You Know, which was my book from 2020, late 2020 or mid 2020 at House of Anansi Press. So I was one of the books that its launch got canceled by COVID. So, I'm giving myself a little book launch today. So this is the title poem, As Far As You Know. When you last saw me, I was waiting, and now that you will never see me again, for all you know, I still am. The time, it turned out, was the last time I was sitting, staring across the top edge of the book into something just above and past the poem you couldn't see there on the page, between us. Or I was walking. Many times you saw me walking, and I cannot know if once when you glimpsed me far away in the park, too far away to hail, and you thought you would tell me later. It would be fun to laugh over that almost meeting in one of the places that are ours, was the last time. Maybe I was lying, suspiciously tired seeming, my eyes to the ceiling. When you last saw me, I was waiting like you for us to meet. And now I still am, as far as you know. The powerful animal with its strange curled horns. What was left of its heart after the man and boy appeared, came near, and then the flare of violence, the man crying, seizing the boy who had walked ahead of him steadily, the man forcing him down across the flat rock, golden and pink in the light that still touched that peak from the western sun. The boy's back bent across the rock's faint curvature, his belly bowed upward, his mouth at first screaming. The other one bound him, stripped him, crying, then fell to his knees, back turned to the rock, still not seeing the great animal caught in the brambles. The powerful animal with its strange curled horns, wild sheep, age-old emblem of lust and power and music, curled horns like giant shells that are like the curls of breakers, that are like whirlwinds of white dust cut by spiraling dark bands. It had quit struggling, worn out, before they came, and then had thrashed a little at their approach, and then had stilled again, watching the conflict. Its eye was vast, some gluey grayness in the corners, but filled almost entirely with the iris's perfect circle of bright gold, slit top to bottom with a thin vertical of parabolic blackness, sharpened to points at the vertices. Its look might have been demonic, mild, or blank. The horns withheld their shock off other horns that carried across deep valleys on afternoons of crystal. Crystal glinted in the rocks, formed in the pressure of those cliffs. The muscles rested, the muzzle panted, the sides rose and fell in their coat, their gleaming blanket, a dreaming child's. unreadable its rhythm, calm motions, elements of stillness, not sayable by any tongue but its own body, a foreign word that no one could translate, therefore inserted whole, not understood, and so passed over a long while into the muttering, sniveling, howling, distorted text, speech or prayer of the man and his long, quietening sobs. The air, the boy's white body, beautiful, worm-like, the cold black place in long and longer shadows, the powerful animal with its curled horns, emblem of lust, power, music, of the year's birth, of the seizing of dreary space, new action in the light, greening of delicious grass in high meadows, the fresh gust of spring, the seizure of eminence, dominance, the powerful animal lay mild and watchful, maybe accepting, maybe worn out, when the man with his knife, his head full of mucus and salt, turned and across the boy's almost breaking spine, thrust up sex and belly, saw. A book travels. A book travels through the world, a closed coffer, a box of jewels, or a tiny casket in which someone carries in her lap the body, the ash of the best beloved. If it opens, the sun rises, a paper star springing from the pages of a child's pop-up book, enclosing the nuclear fire as it used to burn in Trebisond. It gleams over a world of farms and forests. The face of the reader leans closer, enormous sunflower above the sun, far above the plane of people no larger than the letters in a book. From dawn to sunset and on through night, it turns, following its earth. This poem is called High Window. There's always, and there's several of them in here, but there always seem to be in my books, several of these poems that are about, people who are down and out. And this one is, I think it would emerge clearly enough when you read it, but I'll say when you hear it, but when I say in advance, I'll say in advance. It's about a person who's like a homeless person or a very poor person who, of course, is always looking for a job and gets a part-time job, and the part-time job is sweeping up around the bottom of towers, bank towers and so forth. And of course, one of the main things he has to do every morning is clean up the bodies of all the small birds who have brained themselves against the towers that night. So it's something the cleaning staff is always charged with in big cities. Okay. So, high windows. This is the job that finally they gave me, in spring, in autumn, to sweep up the bodies of finches around the bases of the crystal-windowed towers. When I used to sleep on the streets, it was similar. One of us died, the body would be picked up, but as long as we lived, never. It was as though there were someone somewhere who said, let them live, let them be always, let them alone. Let us have them with us as they are, forever. So strange it was and seemed at first. One of us disappeared. No trace, or just the filthy, crumpled bag of stuff left in a corner. But where was she? Until it ceased to appear. So often it happened. A wonder. Seasonal work. A job for a while. To search the long planters and bases of the walls for birds who break against windows in the times of migration. Unable to see the hardness in the shining image of the new, more perfect world's openness. In the future, there are people who will have to imagine what world these words of mine are living in. Imagine it from their day, in which there is no longer the knowledge of what were towers. And I'm going to read a poem that's more or less in the same metrical manner, and yet is to the opposite effect. You know, you think about the limerick, and that's got that amphimacer rhythm, you know, the basic foot of the amphibrachic meter, the basic foot of the limerick is ta-ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. There once was a lady from Sweden who traveled by railway to Breeden, and so forth, right? You know. So it's wonderful to try to use that to a completely different effect, right? There are men in the city of Erith that nobody seeth or heareth, and moored by the marge of the river a barge that nobody roweth or steereth. So this is Childhood Friend in that same nervous, narrow gauge meter as the one about the poor man. Childhood Friend. I am condemned now to my idea of you, but forever and forever you call me out. Albert, you call, at the time of dawn's reaching up into the treetops. Come out and play. And I leap to your girl's voice, the adults still sleeping. And often, too, I'm the first to get up and sneak away, and I'm the one who calls at your door, a whispered shout, afraid to wake your mother and father. And you're asleep, but soon you come down. How my heart sings even today that it's you who've come down for me. We'll go out into the light that clothes itself in dew sparkling across lawns, trees, and flower beds. Our old world again. We'll run, clothes all askew as usual, with children no one has dressed. And running, we'll tear off those shorts and shirts the moment we get past the blackberry brambles and into the woods, and laugh over our different bodies and inform each other all about them solemnly. There's our hut of leaves, some bushes wove. There's the blackbird and the garter snake, goldfinch and grasshopper, and the huge black and gold shadow and sun, the garden spider. There's the carp still in the reeds. Yes, you called me out, you who've receded into womanhood and godhood, hidden behind the noon and the starry night sky, somewhere over the curvature of earth, and my wondering, the doubt, if you ever were or were a dream, if any God was in you, and if you grew, once I no longer saw you, into an anxious occupation by the law that wills a death for the trees and the birds, but 2 deaths for each of us, woman and man. But you called me out. Okay. I'll read Escape to the Sea. And after that, how am I doing, Brenda?
A few more minutes.
Yeah, so after Escape to the Sea, one other poem, maybe a little longer. Okay. Escape to the Sea. The ancient heroes longed only to stay home, or to reach home across the sea. Did they fail to see, raised on the edge of the sea, wielding the sword edge, burning towers by the sea, burying comrades on the sea beaches, the blood in the rivers flowing down to the sea, weeping, roasting meat around fires next to the sea? The sea was their only home. The sea is no home to a man. Much wandering sours and estranges his heart. The sea is the desert, the living sea. Dead to a man, it will kill him with its fishes, its many fabulous citizens, its cold, its black twistings like his dreams, the vast expanses, little different ever, slowly shifting, the bitter storms come and gone, impossible to remember except as dread. The vast expanses and wandering them in the coffin hull, and soon not even his body is a home. It drifts, or he rows it threatened, or lets the sails drag it flying over the treacherous vastness that he is. If only I could live in a tiny house of sod and stone, a brief distance inland, and there my voice inside me could talk with her and with the land, so that when I grew stiff with dwelling, and I walked and mounted the dunes, the sea would dawn as a great freedom, the clean billowing of the bedsheet of the sail. And I think I'll end with, with a sudden little parade downtown. So it's about a Hindu parade, and so it's got that language in it, Hare Krishna, and then it diverges into a bit of Seneca song, and then there's a bit of Maori poetry, what's called a waka, the type of poem, and there's a very famous one that's used by the New Zealand All Blacks all the time as their sort of battle cry when they go into international test matches, right? So there's those three bits of poetry in the poem, and what they mean is sort of translated or paraphrased right after them. So I won't stop to do that, right? Sudden little parade downtown. The first tall flower-encrusted wagon appears in the fast food restaurant window, and the eaters lower their burgers. Look, the street is filled with honey gold people suddenly, and the motors are gone, the panel trucks, SUVs, high-end sports cars with their subtle low riffs of burps. Now the sound is chanting, tinkling, bells and rattles. South Indians fill young, and some whites go along the fringe, the curbs, with camera goiters at their necks. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Floats in the air softly as voice and drumbeat, and ripples embroidered in brilliant Roman letters on a breeze-lifted banner hung on the back of the float. Behind it, a long interval of strolling, chatting celebrants. Call them worshipers, devotees, believers. And then here comes a second wagon, another long stretch of people, then a third, each a whole story tall and all in flowers, a curved canopy atop, and girls in robes peeking out of its mouth, and in front of them a chubby sage in Buddha lotus pose, enveloped in saffron and fanned by a big man with an enormous placid feather. The sages wave impassively to the watchers. O Hinduism, mosaic of gods and stories, intricated bits of colors, stars, baffling, pleasing, many as the flowers cladding the wagons. Your world is the tesserae in the basin of a great fountain, with its scenes of creation, war, destruction, triumph, in the palace courtyard, all things a patchwork of celebration, sketching heedless joy of the dark and light God. The patches having been cut from the people's misery and doings, a beadwork, innumerable beads, like a wampum of treaty with the power that reigns over poverty, treaty that every day saves and gives us back the body which reigns over pleasure. Ni Yahweh, Honi Yahweh, Hane. Ni Yahweh, Honi Yahweh, Hanehe. Singing the dream song of the Maker, who dwells in the sky, singing every day the miraculous escape, the rescue. Kamate, kamate, ka ora, ka ora. Kamate, kamate, ka ora. Tene titangata, puhuruhuru. Nana ne itiki mai wahawaki witi niru. A upani, ka upani, a upani, ka upani, witi te ra. A step upward from the trap, the pit, another step upward, the sun shines. Hinduism, will you live? The street you come along says no. You won't find any elephants there, but the small ones painted in blue on the white rims of the 10-foot-high, gently ongoing wheels of your 3 wagons. How will you speak with only memory, no elephants to be your words? The street fills back up with shoppers, now you're gone, and the cars return as the parade moves out of earshot south toward Lake Ontario. That's
Thank you, Al. That was wonderful. Now, so Glen Hornblast is a well-known Toronto singer-songwriter whose music is an intoxicating blend of folk, country, blues, and jazz. What happened?
Nothing.
I will see later in the video. Everybody's giggling. I'm not really
I was just being intoxicated. It's making them laugh.
His latest CD, Once in a Blue Moon, has been very well received and has
10 years ago.
garnered great reviews
As I've known you.
and radio play around the world. He describes his songs as sad little stories of love, loss, and heartache. Glen's song about a homeless woman, Mary, won the 2015 Songs from the Heart Award, and he's working on new material for an upcoming release. And then here's what I wrote today. Glen is a poet of love who sings his poems in beautiful songs. Even when he sings of those who live on the street, there is care, compassion, and you can hear and feel his recognition of each person's full humanity and spiritual essence. In Glen's music, we are all equal. And I'm so glad to have this special musician, and who ought to be far more famous than he is. And so should Bob. Bob is great.
How do I fit into that?
No, but Bob is wonderful, and he accompanies so many musicians. He's like, what are you like? You're like the foundation.
There are words for people like me, but not here.
Give me a hug.
He's every bit.
Thanks. I use, most people here probably know Linda Stitt, right? Yeah? So I used to run a thing like this in this very room. Oh. No. Leave it.
You will again.
And well, then I was about to. I was feeling a little weary, and then the pandemic happened, and I was thinking of maybe reducing the number of things, because this is to say that organizing something like this once a month, as wonderful Brenda does, is just amazing. She only does 4 times a year. Well, I can appreciate that too. It's very hard to do something, and you have to coordinate all the people, and of course you're dealing with poets. Oh, that was a joke. It was a joke. Listen, it's the same with, believe me. So before that, I used to, for many years, I ran open stages at places like the Free Times Cafe. So then it was always, I've been basically hosting for my whole life. It's a joke too. But anyway, Brenda, I am a legend in my mind. And have always been.
You're a legend in my mind.
And you know what? We should all be legends in our minds. I mean, because no one else can get in your mind except you. At this time. So, I lived in the Annex area. I lived on Brunswick for many years, and so Tranzac is always has always been home for me. There used to be someone named Norm Hacking who ran a great open stage here for many years. I think it was the first open stage at the Tranzac. It was in the 90s, I think. Yeah, it was. And Norm was a 300-pound, huge, wonderful songwriter. What can I say? He was he was a legend, and he was very well known. He played a lot of folk festivals. So this whole thing about hosting these things was started by people before us. I just want to acknowledge them too, like Linda Stitt. So, and there will be, for those who love Linda Stitt and for those who love poetry, her daughter, Paula, and myself and Bob are planning a tribute to Linda Stitt, who passed away in 2020, in May, I think. Yeah. So this is a song when I was an open stage host at the Free Times, and some of the musicians that would come in were quite characters, and Steve Paul was one of them there, right? And there was a fellow named Richard Marlett. Now Richard Marlett was the oldest guy in the open stage. He was probably in his 60s then, and he had a love for Hank Williams. So he'd come to the open stage, and he had a real wonderful voice, but not a great singer. He had something about his voice that was very wonderful, especially to see this old guy that loved country music, who was semi-homeless, and would just come to the open stage to sing Hank Williams songs. That's what this song's about. It's called The Miracle of You, or The Ballad of Richard Marlett. It's in C. Is this my C harp?
Yep.
It is?
It is.
Yeah, but I had it in backwards. So that the highs are at the bottom end, but they should be at the top end. So, this is something that I love people to sing along, and I make very easy choruses to sing along with. So this is called Miracle of You. If you feel like jumping in on the chorus, that would be great. For Richard. Thank you for the love you gave us, the way your smile could light the day up. Thank you for the kindness in your eyes, the way you held your cigarette like a holy sacrament, cup of coffee on the side, for the miracle, for the miracle of you. Try that, it goes like this. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. The way you sang a Hank Williams song, and everybody sang along with, I'm so lonesome I could cry. When you laughed, your eyes would crinkle. You looked as old as Rip Van Winkle, just an angel in disguise. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. That's it, thanks. Singing for Richard. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. Well, you were one of God's holy fools, giving your heart to everyone you knew, filled with the Holy Spirit's fire. Suit and tie and your hair slicked back, lines on your face like railroad tracks, original drunk in the midnight choir. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. That's the magic of Bob Cohen. Richard, you know we loved you. You put your faith in God above you. Now you're gone to the resting place. Thank you for the gifts you left us. May your wise old soul protect us and guide us with your grace. For the miracle, for the miracle of you. 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 Thank you. Did you notice the line I stole from Leonard Cohen, the original Drunk in the Midnight Choir? So I went to that exhibit at the AGO 3 times. I just couldn't get enough of it. And yeah, I guess Leonard was probably one of the most influential songwriters on me. It's just at a certain age, I was 17, his record was coming out. Maybe I was 15. I would skip school to go to the library and listen to records. And, you know, Dylan and Thad were coming out. So, back in the 70s, I was in Irving Layton's poetry class, and I was telling Jennifer that to me, I took many creative writing courses, and I couldn't. I had writer's block. You know, I had written for a while and I just couldn't write anymore. And Irving just got me kick-started. He really did. You know, I really think he is a great creative writing teacher. He was able to tell you why something was good, and he had so much passion. I remember one of the poems he liked to recite. Yes, I put my hand upon her thigh, and from the way she moved away, I knew her devotion to poetry was less than perfect. So that's where I was, you know, at in writing. My favorite poet was William Carlos Williams, so my poems didn't have to be long. That's great. It's like singing jazz. You know, when you sing jazz, you get a 5-minute break in the middle of the song. You know, it's great. That's why jazz singers live so long. Now, how about Bob here?
No poetry
He's no
here.
poetry. Bob, I'll tell you a poem I wrote in Irving Layton's class. It didn't get published in that book either. Life is an endless. It's called Alone Again on New Year's Eve, and I was. It goes. Life is an endless stream of random events in a meaningless universe, surrounded by an empty void of nothingness. Oh God, I need to get laid. There's the humorous break, so we can go on to more songs. This one is serious, yeah. This is about my mother passed away in 2007. And it's sort of about that phenomenon that I think many people experience, which makes me, I'm a spiritual person. I believe that our life extends just beyond this body, and that we go somewhere. I'm not saying I know where. If I knew, I'd tell you. But you've all had the experience of someone who's died, and you feel that they're sending you a message afterwards. You know, have you? Or they come and visit you in your dreams. So this is about that. It's called Just Like the Rain. It's an A. Change my harmonica. Sorry. You know, I've barely performed since the pandemic. I just perform at home. I don't even have a cat. That says A on it.
The Canadian harmonica.
Mama, it's been 6 months since you passed away. You were in my dreams just the other day. Thought I heard you say, you know love is like the rain. Well, I know that love is like the rain. Just like the rain, we fall into the ground and disappear. Just like the rain, we live for just a moment, then we're here and gone. Just like a song, just like the rain. Mom, it was your birthday just the other day. I left fresh flowers just beside your grave. Thought I heard you say, you know love is like the rain. Well, I know that love is like the rain. Just like the rain, we fall into the ground and disappear. Just like the rain, for just a moment, then we're here and gone. Just like a song, just like the rain. I was washing dishes just the other day. From another room I thought I heard you say, and you called to me and you said, love is like the rain. Well, I know that love is like the rain. Just like the rain, we fall into the ground and disappear. Just like the rain, we live for just a moment, then we're here and gone. Just like a song, just like the rain. Just like the rain, we fall into the ground and disappear. Just like the rain, we live for just a moment, then we're here and gone. Just like a song, just like the rain. Just like the rain, just like the rain, just like the rain. Thank you. Fantastic, Dr. Bob.
That's pretty good.
I don't know if you've heard these two songs before.
No.
That's the magic of Bob. So I'm just going to do two more, because I'm good at keeping on time. So I'm going to do just two more.
Glen, we do have to finish at 8.
Sure, it's okay. How many minutes does that give us?
6 minutes.
Oh, 6 minutes. Okay, one more. One more.
Really serious.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll do the song that I'm kind of known for, which is called Mary, and it's about a homeless woman who used to live on the street right over there, Brunswick and Bloor. But in the song, she lives at Church and Queen, in a rhyme scheme. So thank you very much. Thank you to Brenda. Thank you to Bob. Thanks to all of you. I haven't gone out much in 3 years because I have a brother who has cancer and I have to take care of him. But so I don't want to give him COVID, But it's getting safer, it seems, and here we are. So thank you so much for coming in. This song is called Mary.
Be a medley of your greatest.
Yes. As Bob said, a medley of my greatest hit. My greatest hit. Well, this is Mary. Mary lives in a bus shelter at the corner of Church and Queen. She says in broken English she got nowhere else to be. She's from a town in Germany, she left before the war, and Mary's only crime is being poor. Her husband was a tailor, he had to stay behind. He tried to get his parents out, but Mary thinks they died. Now she spends her nights alone, freezing in the cold, and Mary's only crime is growing old. Whoa, people, is anybody free? Long as some folks have too much and some don't have anything. Carries her belongings in a broken down shopping cart. Says she ain't been well for a while, she motions to her heart. I offer her a coffee and maybe $1 or $2. She says thank you dear, I don't know what else to do. Whoa, people, is anybody free? Long as some folks have too much and some don't have anything. Mary lives in a bus shelter at the corner of Church and Queen. She says in broken English she got nowhere else to be. She's from a town in Germany, she left before the war, and Mary's only crime is being poor. Mary's only crime is being poor, and Mary's only crime is being poor. Thank you so much, folks. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much. Wow, it's so wonderful to listen to you. Whew, that was wonderful. Thank you so much, Glen and Bob. It's just beautiful.